Some connections don't end, they simply never arrive. When familiarity no longer equals safety, where does your attention go? Fantasy isn't a flaw, it's a regulation strategy. When clarity is missing, the nervous system looks for relief. Fantasy provides that relief quietly. It gives the nervous system something familiar to orient toward when nothing is confirmed, so it doesn't have to remain exposed to emptiness. That's why fantasy often takes recognizable forms. A picture-perfect family from the outside looking in, the idea of the perfect match, the perfect couple, a future that looks stable, respectable, complete. Fantasy borrows comfort from images that already feel safe. It leans on familiarity, roles that feel predictable and safe. This is what a relationship is supposed to look and feel like, even when the present reality doesn't match. Most people don't realize they're using fantasy to regulate. They experience it as hope, patience, or openness. But what's actually happening is simpler. Under ambiguity, the nervous system stays activated, and fantasy becomes the way to discharge that activation without changing the situation. Imagine future replace present evidence, potential replace contact, maybe replace information. Fantasy calms the system by creating the illusion of certainty. It gives the nervous system a sense of knowing how this ends, who stays, what it becomes. That's why thoughts like, "They'll never leave me," we're already basically a family. The children are involved, or "this is just how it is," reduced threat. They give the nervous system something solid to lean on when the actual connection is undefined, inconsistent, or unspoken. Fantasy operates without feedback, reciprocity, or evidence, only imagination. And imagination can regulate faster than reality. That's why it's so sticky. Nothing is resolved, but the system feels temporarily soothed. Over time, though, regulation through fantasy has a cost. Energy stays invested in what hasn't happened. Attention drifts away from what is happening. The body never fully settles because it's still orienting toward possibility instead of reality. The system isn't at rest, it's suspended. This isn't self-deception, it's self-protection. Fantasy is what the nervous system reaches for when clarity hasn't arrived. But letting go feels more destabilizing than staying. When familiarity stops being confused with safety, comfort returns from future that never arrived. The release of fantasy isn't dramatic, it's quiet. It happens when the nervous system no longer needs imagined futures to stay regulated. Energy disengages from what hasn't happened. Attention returns to what's actually here. The system stops suspending itself between hope and uncertainty. And in that settling, energy returns, not to a future that never arrived, but to the present moment that's been waiting all along. What are you regulating with the future you're holding on to? What certainty are you borrowing to avoid sitting with what's unclear?